Third pull. Yes, the third pull is the focus of this episode. Now, for folks that are acquainted with the ministry of William Branham or Brother Branham, the third pull is a phrase often thrown around or dropped in fellowship or in some sermons, and it's serious stuff. And indeed, it is. By the way, Brother Branham, whom most of his contemporaries, friends, and foes all agree he was a prophet. And to this end, this channel agrees with that assessment. And for purposes of this episode, what is this third pull? Is it something that can be precisely defined? And for starters, is it even necessary to understand this? The third pull actually is something controversial. You know what? Our natural birth is by the union of your father and mother. But our spiritual birth is by the spoken word. So why not? Let's get into this basic and pertinent aspect of the entire message, or rather, the ministry of William Branham. This is Admire, and welcome to the Brooks Portal. By the way, anything that cannot propagate itself for one reason or another, its gene pool is doomed. Sad or unfortunate as it sounds, such is nature. And it's true. So, iweneni tinebasa. Do something in order to win a soul to Christ before rocks leap to shout praises to God, especially here in the United Kingdom. In this episode, we'll highlight the third pull in the ministry of William Branham. Now, basics first. We saw that the first and the second pull were phases in Brother Branham's ministry. And some typical things characterized each phase or demonstrated each phase. That is to ordinary onlookers. Now, using the same analogy, third pull in this episode will be looked at as a phase, and we'll briefly highlight some of the things that were particular to this phase. And I must say, this is not exhaustive by any means. So what did Brother Branham himself actually say about this? In his sermons, he indicated some of these few things that we'll highlight. 1. The third pull will not be a public show. That's something only meant for a few select, or which we can say predestinated ones. Now, while on this, in February of 1961, a minister by the name Junior Jackson dreamt a dream. And in this dream was a great big hill in a field with something like blue grass. And on top of this hill, the water had washed away the soil, exposing the top rock upon the hill. No grass, just the rock. The water had cut some readings on the exposed rock. And in this dream, Brother Branham was standing there interpreting those readings to the brethren. And all coming from different places all stood together, listening to him interpreting those mysterious writing. He then picked a crowbar and struck the top capstone off, and it was pyramid-shaped. Now, beneath that cap was white stone, granite. The sun or the light had never shined on it before. Brother Branham said, "Look on this." And all the brethren came look in. And while they were looking in, Brother Branham slipped off towards the west. Now, after a while, brethren started wondering, where did he go? Did he vanish? And men started going their way one by one. And very few stayed and looking on what had been told to look on. Now we know he went west to understand the interpretation of what's hidden in the top of this unwritten white granite rock, under the capstone of the pyramid-shaped rock. That's the third pool. Only a few stayed for this, the third pool. 2. The third pool will not be impersonated, rather impossible to impersonate. Now, this will differentiate between the true Church of Jesus Christ from the denominational or nominal church. Now, being that we have highlighted 2 things that it will not be, but what will it be then? Now, based on Branham's sermons, this brings us to number 3. The third pool is the opening of the Word. Now, one may argue, like everyone, or rather every child of God can open the Word of God. That may be true in one sense, but not entirely true. Now, one morning, away from civilization, out yonder in Sabino Canyon, William Branham received a sword. And a voice said, "The sword of the king, the word of the Lord," the third pool. Now from that, we saw that this was the opening of the word, actually pertained to the main reason why William Branham was called to be a prophet. Rather, the main reason God created him, the way he made him to be born under a sign as a prophet. Now, this was actually evident even in nature. For example, when 7 hills on the continental divide were used as an immortal representation of the ministry of William Branham's first, second, and third pool. At the end of that continental divide was the third pool, the last pool of the range. Now we can see the first and the second pool were all preparing for the third pool. Now, under the third pool first, he achieved his purpose, which was to do 2 things. Now, according to Malachi 4, he will turn the heart of the children to the fathers and reveal the mysteries of the 7 thunders in Revelation 10, which are the revelations contained in the 7 seals. Now, still on this, what is it that characterized this opening, or rather vindicated this pool, the third pool? This brings us to this number 4. That is the focus of part 2, to be continued in the next episode. So stay tuned. God bless you. Shalom.